Welcome back to our discussion of District 4 and City Council. Two candidates with us. Again, the primary coming up at the end of the month. And I just wanted to touch on this KUB vote to include the option of doing internet through that utility. And Councilwoman Ryder, let's start with you. Why is it a good idea, and what concerns do you have? And Jim will ask you the same.
Yeah, so we were one of the last major municipalities in the state to launch and add that as a fifth utility. I think we've seen from the pandemic, and I know from working at Pellissippi State as an educator there, we can't be a market without readily great access to Wi-Fi and internet, broadband. So this was a great move, and it's the number one thing and the number one vote that council could have made to support business in this community, to attract new businesses here, as well as support education. From the healthcare perspective, you cannot have healthcare. From the education perspective, you can't have education without access to good internet. So that was the right move to be able to support those critical parts of our economy.
Jim, agree or disagree?
Somewhat agree. I mean, the reality is it's water under the bridge. The city council has voted on it. KUB has already started installations, and the 17 or 1,800 households that were not going to get or have access to internet will likely get that in the next couple of years. Of course, there's a price to pay for this, and over the course of the 3 years, we're going to see a 9% price increase on everybody's KUB bill. So that's going to come, and we're all going to feel that. The question is, is that going to help people in our community? The people that already are struggling with high KUB bills, are they going to feel that? In the end, I mean, I think, the more people, the merrier, but I always am concerned when government, and KUB is government, is getting into the free enterprise business. So it's expanding government over free enterprise against, your AT&Ts and Comcasts and WOWs and all those other organizations.
Jim and Lauren, I have a question for you. I am your constituent. I live in the 4th District, and I'm very curious to hear your opinions on what you think is the number one issue on the minds of the people who live in the 4th District. And Jim, let's start with you.
So I've been knocking on doors, and a lot of them, as you can see if you ever drive through North Knoxville. So I've heard essentially 5 different things that have come up in conversations. But the number one thing that people are concerned about is the crime and the homeless situation. There's a lot of fear out here right now that it's moving out into the 4th District a little bit stronger. But it also surprises me how many people I talk to where speeding, sidewalks, flooding, trash and garbage on the roads. These are all things that are coming up. So you've got crime as the primary thing that I hear about, homelessness, but flooding, speeding, sidewalks, trash, garbage pickup, the services that, are typically provided by the city are not being met at every level. And some of the people I've talked to have been challenged with some of these things for years, and in some cases, decades, with no resolve, and it just kind of blows my mind away.
Lauren?
Yeah, so I'll say stormwater is a number one concern since we brought up. It's not the number one, but I wanted to address that. We live in a hilly area where there's a lot of stormwater runoff, and we have a lot of older neighborhoods where there weren't stormwater infrastructure when the houses were built. So that is a very expensive thing to go back and retrofit. There's also a state and a federal law that dictates how some of that's dealt with. But I wanted to talk about the crime, because earlier I mentioned that we have a drug problem here, which is pretty much a root cause of crime and homelessness, directly tied to those two things. And I'll go back to say, in talking to Metro Drug Coalition about programs that they're doing and funding that they need, there's a lot of it comes from federal and state. And the states that have gotten the Medicaid expansion, which is not a city council thing, but I did put a resolution on the docket, and it was passed unanimously by the rest of the council to ask the bipartisan effort to pass the Medicaid expansion at the state that Briggs and others were trying to push. The states that have taken the Medicaid expansion have found a way to pay for health care and drug addictions have had less issues. So until we decide that we're going to get serious as a community, then we're not going to see changes. homelessness is a number one concern. We are seeing it everywhere in the community.
We've got
And
to run,
so
but we appreciate the conversation from both of you. Lauren Ryder, Jim Klonaris, thank you both for the time this morning, and best of luck to both of you in the primary.
Thank you.